I reviewed the top 5 E3 review videos so that you don't have to. Most of them, well, you'll see. Like and subscribe unless you want to be eternally subjected to watching 2021's E3. 5 E3 reviews reviewed, everybody. And why most of them suck.
ドキドキしちゃる。
To clarify, what I will be doing is looking at the top 5 videos that review the 10-hour spectacle of boredom that was the 2021 E3. This doesn't mean that I'm reviewing any of the conferences, but rather reviewing the 5 most viewed videos that talk about the E3 conferences. I just created Inception with reviews! Reviewception, everybody. No, I won't be reviewing any of them in any particular order or giving them a rating out of 10, but rather providing amazing insights on what each one has to offer. Besides number 1, the review that's number 1 is number 1 because it's freaking phenomenal. First up, sitting at number 5 for no particular reason, gameranx. Gameranx was the first review I watched and has garnered a total of 1.6 million views, taking the 30 biggest reveals approach in 16 minutes. What an oddly absurd approach that capitalizes on our attention spans for retention rates. Much like I try to do by cutting in between all these different shots and speaking really fast and loudly. Run away! They throw so much information at you with very little context, which ends up feeling like they're making shit up in order to keep you watching and confused.
It's going to take place in Mexico, and it's apparently their biggest open world yet. It's using photogrammetry technology.
Photogrammetry technology? You've never heard of this? I've heard of this. You must be an idiot. Who made this shit up? Who the fuck made this word up, bro? I'm tired of it. The people who run gameranx most likely live in an alternate dimension dominated by bland, informative neutrality. There wasn't much said about gameplay, and the names of the companies were thrown at the audience without ever informing us about the games they'd created.
This is actually from Avalanche Studios, and we know it's going to be cooperative, open world. And this is a new Arcane Studios game designed specifically
Arcane Studios,
for Xbox
I have no idea what they
PC
made.
that is going to be an open...
Coming up, we got Necopara Volume 4, which is obviously a NecoWorks game. IGN was a lot like gameranx, but the music at the beginning was straight bopping. Much like gameranx, the tone of the video was informative with 10 billion facts being thrown at us. Most of these were fairly relevant to summarizing what we should expect from each of the different games presented, which got me hyped. Hype. For some of the games coming out, but the information provided fell flat.
While Stranger of Paradise feels different, creative director Tetsuya Nomura says there's no doubt that the blood of Final Fantasy runs through its veins.
There wasn't a lot of deviation from the objective facts that were given, with the majority of the video feeling like a speed-injected E3 overview with short snippets that IGN found to be some of the
biggest game announcements.
See, it says right here. I did appreciate that IGN, unlike gameranx, didn't expect us all to be level 68 nerds and know the name of every single video game company ever created. IGN provided the viewer with examples of games that companies had previously released, which gave me as the viewer actual backing to who was releasing what. The best illustration that comes to mind is with the E3 announcement of the game Redfall, which in the gameranx video, they glossed over the words Arcane Studios, which is the name of the company that created Redfall, leaving me to say, who are you, Arcane Studios, and why should I care about your game? IGN was like, Arcane Studios, the people who brought you Dishonored, which had me saying, holy shit, Arcane Studios, come into my house, take all of my belongings, take my wife, shoot me in the face, and give my kids your game. With all of this said, IGN, you're still very boring and don't have much innovation to add in the videos about E3 Realm, which inescapably leads to number 3, Scott the Woz, and hence switches my trajectory over from large companies with boring and strictly informative content running video game culture review networks. Hear me out. IGN's owned by J2 Global, which owns a million other companies that you've never heard of. No way! And is no longer owned by the original founders, which were the German musician Jay Mueller and one of the managers for the Beach Boys, Jack Riley. OMG! Who owns them now? Vivek R. Shah. What has he done wrong? Absolutely nothing yet. But J2's a big company. I'm scared. You should be. The evil side of capitalism. Woo! After tirelessly researching gameranx, I found out that they aren't actually owned by a big company. It's owned by this guy, Jake Baldino. His content still fits in that boring and strictly informative category, but he employs about 5 people. It's a small company. I still feel indifferent about the good side of capitalism. Anyway, we're switching from that to YouTubers who subject their viewers to their sometimes terrible and sometimes absolutely wonderful personal opinions about video games and E3, in which they add slivers of humor. As a side note, Scott the Woz uses a 0 out of 5 knee slap scale to rate each of the E3 conferences that happened, 0 being the lowest, boo, and 5 being the highest, hooray. This is to say, clever man. But Scott, I don't know which video game company hurt you, my guy, but this E3 review right here was full of negative opinions.
Rainbow Six Extraction,
This game looks pretty fire.
This seems like an
Not gonna lie.
for Rainbow Six.
This looks
focusing on more
absolutely
supernatural
insane.
Alien-type creatures. I'm excited to see more. Or I could be honest.
Fuck off, Tom Clancy.
Does anybody else feel
What?
like within the past 4 years, Ubisoft has been going way too hard with the Tom Clancy games? Like, most of them sell well, but I have never stared a Tom Clancy fan in the eye. And if I, one lone gamer, doesn't care about something in an E3
Whoa,
showcase,
whoa,
that
whoa,
means-
whoa, 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 whoa. You gave the Square Enix conference a whole 0 knee slaps. I did, in fact, take this personally in case you were wondering. Because of this, I give you 0 knee slaps, Scott. 0. Mr. Woz proceeded to talk trash about Nintendo.
That sort of means to me this game is launching in an incomplete state and it'll be finished via free updates. And by the time they fully finish the game, I'm not gonna care. I am a bit cautious though. I'm worried this format limits how crazy the microgames can be.
And then gave it a whole 4 knee slaps out of 5, which made me question the fabric of space and time, further breaking me away from the way in which I conceptualized reality. I began to realize that everything Scott hated would be talked about for minutes on end. But anything he enjoyed, he only talked about for a couple of seconds. Why do you hate your life? I did like the way that he talked about top-down games, though. Besides the Diablo series and Minecraft Dungeons, most of them are lackluster and don't incorporate anything fresh to the genre. So it was nice hearing someone else think the same way that I think. Thank you, stranger. Coming in at number 2 is the embodiment of the Confederate flag himself, the E3 Alpha Chad we've all been waiting for, Synthetic Man. This man right here gave me a run for my money and was one of the most powerful, heartstring-pulling E3 reviewers out there. And by that I mean, holy shit, who the fuck hurt this guy? Scott the Woz was obviously abused by every video game company besides Nintendo, but this guy, Mr. Synthetic Man, has been brought down by the system of white privilege and has hence become the most powerful of challengers when it comes to being the trope of an angry white entitled dude with white entitled dude fans. At least y'all call bullshit on the pandemic. Jesus Christ, dude. I don't mean to shit on this guy completely, but he reminded me a lot of the sad, hateful loser I was 4 years ago. He got mad at any semblance of diversity.
God, the worst part though was the Just Dance part, man. Oh my god. I was cringing the entire time. Like, I get it's Pride Month and all that, but do you really have to get the most flamboyant, stereotypical gay man that you could have...
All right, let me just stop right here. Now, I don't know any single straight man who owns this game. Do you? Then in a true Alpha Chad manner, he calls a bunch of people betas.
Always a special kind of stupid or useless. I guess the one guy who wanted to be a betazoid.
And to top it all off, he pulls the classic super villain anime finisher, though this is too diverse for me, so therefore I'll label it as trash move.
The Take-Two one was a fucking joke. It was basically a Zoom call about diversity and inclusion, which means GTA 6 is gonna be a giant steaming pile of shit.
What would you prefer, that we go back to the 1990s, 2000s, or even 10 years ago, because all these companies are looking awfully white to me, Synthetic Man. This man has a whole ass analogy of hate written inside the characteristics that he portrays in his 25-minute video. It's always a lot easier to shit on things than to actually talk about the things we care about and fully flesh out our opinions, which leads me directly into the one, the only, #1 superstar.
You already know this.
Video game donkey. All I gotta say is that he is, in fact, the best.
Beyond my level.
His E3 review, the best. 10 out of 10.
Chaos.
Hilarious.
Chaos.
That's all I gotta say. Also, girlfriend reviews his videos pretty fire. Why do most E3 reviews suck? I was listening to Quentin Tarantino talk recently, and he brought up the concept of they. How people will say, they'll try to stop you from making movies you want to make. To which Tarantino said there is no they. We stop ourselves from making the things we want to make because of the perceptual they that we want to see as an obstacle. This made me think of all the E3 reviews I'd watched and led me to two concepts. The first applies to reviews 5 and 4. It's easy to say things that are objective without adding any personal flair in order to garner attention, as it's non-invasive and therefore easier to digest by an audience. There's no creativity here, as it's just a compilation of clips and a guy saying what's going on with very little context. As you can see, there's obviously a guy on a horse. They added buildings in this game, next generation graphics. This game obviously has photogrammetry technology. Photogrammetry technology. The second concept applies to reviews 3 and 2. It's easy to add a subjective flair through hatred, whether that be through disputing every video game out there or hating on anything relatively progressive and garnering passionate yet negative misdirected attention in the hopes of pleasing a specific audience. Have a girl in this game? Betas. Hashtag less diversity. Tweet it out of whatever game I decided to put right here. Both of these predicaments lead to one of the largest problems in the E3 gaming commentary section on YouTube, which I think is Tarantino's point. People are afraid to say anything new. It's quick, informative segments or hating on absolutely everything because people have forgotten how to step out of these status quos and make something that's artistic and refreshing. This is all to say, Donkey, 10 out of 10. The best. Hilarious. Ha ha.